Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast. My name is DK Diamantes, my co-host is Bricky, and we're going to be learning a lot of fun stuff about Warhammer 40k today. But before we do, if you enjoyed today's podcast, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous, where you can get access to our Discord, bloopers if they happen. The HD poster tier is $15, so if you want that, maybe consider patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous. And Bricky, how about book club and other merchandise related stuff?
Well, first things first, Happy New Year.
Oh yeah, it's 2023. How can I forget?
Yeah, the new year is here and I've already ruined it. So 2024 will be my year.
How have you already ruined this year? What happened?
I woke up.
Oh,
got him.
That's a shame. Yeah, you play Destiny too, so the year's already ruined, right?
Yeah, basically. So I wanted to extend a giant thank you to all of our fans who support us during our gigantic end of the year merch sale. There were many posters being purchased. They have all the Black Friday ones have ceased production now. However, if you do go to the site at orchidate.com, you might still see a couple of them up, and those are any of the extras that we had to produce in order to meet the demand. You know, we would like put in like 10 or something. And yeah. Like, so we maybe have like 2, 3 left of certain ones, and if you don't see it, then we are out. So if you missed it and you're like, oh crap, I want to see if they maybe have 1 or 2 left, you can go ahead and check. But if it's not there, then that means it is out. We did restock the dice, though. The dice are back. If you want to check out the dice, there is more dice. Okay. So if you want to see if you missed one and there's like a spare, go ahead. And if not, well, it was a wonderful time. It was a wonderful year. And thank you very, very much for your excellent support. All right, DK. Luckily for you, you will not be... Oh, yeah, book club. Belisarius has called a great work. All right, DK.
Yeah.
You will not be made fun of today. Well, that's not true. You will not be made fun of in this next 25 seconds because I do not have a quote that you will forget.
Emperor's Children.
He did it. He did it.
Let's go.
Here
we
go.
You're the
man now, dog.
Yes.
I mean, would you like a quote anyway?
Absolutely, I would still like a quote.
Shy, you son of a bitch. That was the quote I had. That was the one I had. Fuck you. Push your Giga Chad Ogren down.
That's...
All right. Luckily for me, I have 2.
Oh, you came prepared.
I came prepared.
Wow.
All right. There is a tragedy in perfection, as the ancient philosophers were wont to say. It is doomed to fail, to become imperfect. The more tightly it is grasped, the more imperfect it becomes. The fall of all those who turned against us are all bitter tragedies in their own right, but the fall of the Emperor's children is a tragedy in the greatest and oldest sense. Their tragedy is not that they fell from perfection, but that it was never in their power to attain it, for they were always flawed, broken things. They reached for a distant light that would forever be out of their grasp, and in reaching they fell so far that the flawed magnificence they had so painfully achieved would rot in our memories. The flaws were there, my lords. They were always there. We were blind to them. Now we must see both the glory that was and the ruin it became. We have that duty. Malcador the Sigillite.
Whew. That is a quote and a half.
It's a long one, but it's an interesting statement. Malcador once again being the smarty pants.
Yep, he is indeed the smarty pants. They tried to be perfect, but they were never perfect. They were always flawed.
Truly could be. So, for those of you who are watching and missed it, our last episode was on Fulgrim, the Phoenician, the fancy pantsy boy, the man who was. We are now discussing the Legion itself, the Emperor's Children, and we will talk only a little bit about some of their champions, mainly about Bile, a little bit of Lucius, But Bile will not most likely, will get an episode to himself in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you literally take this Chaos Space Marine Codex, it's like, who do you want to play as? Black Legion, Iron Warriors, Alpha Legion, etc. And then one of them is literally creations of Bile. Like, he has his own faction.
Can you actually play as the... That's not actually like a playable... Like, you just play as the creations of Bile? Really?
He is an entire faction, along with, like, Night Lords and etc. Creations of Bile. Now, he has a few fewer rules than the other of them do, but basically the units are, like, faster and hit stronger and stuff because he's tinkering with them.
Ah, yes. He's trying to make them genetically perfect.
Yeah, Bile has a whole lot going on to him, and he actually plays a pretty integral role in the Emperor's Children's fall.
Okay.
It's interesting. If I'm also not mistaken, he also like doesn't believe demons exist. I'm pretty sure he looked at a demon and was like, "Yeah, you're not real. You're just like warp energy. I don't believe in you. Gods are stupid." And
I was gonna say, how can you be in the Emperor's Children, a Chaos Space Marine faction, and not believe in demons? Like, what? How is that possible?
He thinks they're just warp energy, and they don't actually like exist. Like gods, he's like atheist.
Oh.
I'm paraphrasing heavily. I'm paraphrasing heavily, but all I'm saying is that the B in Bile stands for based. Emperor's Children, they are the 3rd Legion we discussed. They are from the homeworld of Kimos. The Primarch is Fulgrim. Their war cry is Children of the Emperor, or death to his foes, or in more particular recent terms, for the Emperor, in a mocking fashion to trick the populace of the worlds they attack, which is still fucking hilarious.
That's one of my favorite things about Emperor's Children, is that they still say "for the Emperor" because just that little extra salt in the wound.
It's very funny. So the original Terran-born Emperor's Children, way back when, were actually brought by the Children of Lords on Europa. Europa, the moon of Jupiter. Cool. There were large noble families over in Europa, and they originally had a prior defiance against the Emperor that his Thunder Warriors put down. And in kind of like in a little bit of like a Krieg way, in a penance for this defiance, they would give a large amount of their offspring to the Legion. And so eventually, the Terran aristocrats followed suit with the European aristocrats, and these like firstborn children and stuff were there to build up the 3rd Legion's main ranking youth. Now, if you remember, most Space Marines are made at around the youngest age is like 8 or 9, and oldest is like 16, give or take.
Yeah, very young.
Yeah, so this basically you have to imagine the idea that what's like the British noble like kid, like, "Papa, may I have more porridge?"
Papa.
Yes. So it was all around that age that they were taken. And so creating this level of like this foundation of this artful warfare group, the foundation of the Emperor's Children was always steeped in some kind of fancy-pantsy level of artistry, but in its own way, because they were yanking the papas from the world.
Poor children. Poor kiddos.
Poor kid. Yeah, well, considering how high the death rate of a Astartes is, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So they were initially, the Emperor's Children were sent to aid the Imperial Army, which at the time was the combination of the Imperial Navy and the Astra Militarum. They melded with them quite well, apparently, because they were very used to ordering people under them.
They're aristocrats.
Because they're aristocrats.
I mean, they've been trained since birth for this job, man. Let's go.
These are the Will Smiths of the world, and they were, and the Imperial Army were the butlers from fuck, what's his name from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
I didn't watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as a kid, to be honest with you.
You didn't watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
I did not watch the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. As a kid, I was watching cartoons, man. I was watching Tailspin and Darkwing Duck and shit like that. Like,
All right, it was Jeffrey or Joffrey. I forget how it's pronounced, but him. I don't know how you pronounce that. How do you say Geoffrey? Is it Joffrey?
I'd
or is
say
it
Joffrey.
Jeffrey? Okay,
I'd say Joffrey.
Him. I think they say I think they say Jeffrey. Jeffrey.
Wow,
Jeffrey.
That's a long way to go just to let us know that they are very underneath the Emperor's children. This is a long bit, my friend.
DK, let me tell you something about women. About women.
What? Okay.
All right. So, they originally were the only legion to ever. That is a very deep reference. Please keep that in, Shy.
I didn't get it.
All right. You know,
maybe it's because I don't understand women.
Yeah, it's chicken and Winnigish.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, it's okay. That's perfectly fine. Now, they were the only legion at the time able to bear the Palatine Aquila. Now, the Palatine Aquila is different than the regular Imperial Aquila because this is the Emperor's personal standard Aquila. This is actually because way back in the beginning, the Emperor was wounded in a battle by this like fancy vortex grenade. Mm-hmm. And the Emperor's children fought and died pretty heavily in this big noble sacrifice to save him and his custodians. So in order to appreciate that, they were allowed to bear the Palatine Aquila. In fact, often the Third Legion was picked by the Emperor to serve as a diplomatic advisor or an emissary. Often they were used as a tool in politics, specifically because, well, you know, aristocrats.
Yeah. So they're the only ones that can wear this. That's because in the last episode you were saying something like they were the only ones that were allowed to wear the Aquila, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I've seen the Aquila on other Space Marines, but this is like the fancy Emperor's Aquila, and that's like the difference.
But did you see the fancy Aquila in the Horus Heresy days?
Okay, gotcha.
If we remember correctly, Talos in the Night Lord's book had a leftover Salamander's chest plate that had an Imperial Aquila that they scratched out on it, but that is post-heresy.
Okay, that's fair. I haven't seen a ton, or I guess I don't remember what a lot of the pre-heresy armor looks like, but okay.
It looks all kind of samey. It's just kind of like swapping colors. Mm-hmm. But they had the big Emperor's Palatine Aquila on it.
Fancy boys.
Basically, the idea was that, like, while the other Space Marine legions, they kind of bore the words of the Emperor, the Third Legion was the voice of the Emperor, you know, and it makes sense that they eventually had the name the Emperor's Children.
Children, yep, of course. That makes sense now.
It kind of like there was already the foundation for them being that way in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely.
So, the Legion's gene seed, if you remember, had a big failure. It was trying to make its way over to Luna, and the ship had a catastrophic failure. They don't really know what happened. Some say it crashed and was obliterated. Some say it just simply disappeared. I have a theory that maybe it tried to do warp travel, and then Tzeentch or someone was like, "Ooh, cool." Because it was a way to set Fulgrim upon his path. The great game of Tzeentch, you know, it's like, oh, we take away all the gene seed, and then Fulgrim will like try to live up to expectations because these are the future. You know Tzeentch bullshit.
Yeah, Tzeentch future change bullshit. Yeah, sure, I got it.
Which wouldn't have been so bad if the remaining major amount of gene seed on the vaults of Terra had not been hit by a massive blight. The virus was artificial and could not be treated, and some think it was Xenos related, but theory again, blight, chaos gods, Tzeentch takes the ship, Nurgle takes the gene stock.
Really screws them over.
It's a theory. It could just be a Xenos blight. I don't know. Some believe it to be a Xenos, but whatever the reason, this basically destroyed all of the Emperor's Children's gene seed.
Ooh, that's no good. That is not a good thing to have happen to your legion.
No, and with that, the entire legion slowly began to die.
Ooh, yep.
Because there's no more restocking.
Yeah, you can't replace. Yeah.
And then luckily they found Fulgrim after that.
Oh well, good for them. That's good. Yeah, perfect.
And life is. They find Fulgrim, they can start making more dudes from gene seed. All the good stuff happens. So we pass all that part because I was on the Fulgrim episode. But to think a little bit more about the Emperor's Children in warfare-wise, we mentioned that they were much more artistic in how they conducted their battles. I kind of always think a little bit like almost like maybe a Harlequin level of artistic, because they're more like this weird deathy dance, but these are still space marines. But
space marines. Are they kind of like the what was her name in Bloodborne? The sword dancer that spins around and everybody has a really hard time with her, and you really have to like remember how she moves about.
In Bloodborne?
Yeah, I thought it was maybe was it in Bloodborne? Maybe it wasn't Bloodborne.
That's Lady Maria, but that doesn't sound right. Do you mean Melania?
Oh, that was Dark Souls 3. Sorry, I get my Soulsborne games mixed up.
The dancer of the Boreal Valley.
Yeah. That was Dark Souls 3?
Yes, it was.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's been a time.
Yeah, I'm getting my Soulsborne all mixed up. But yeah. I kind of think like that when I'm thinking like Harlequins or like artistic sword dancer warrior type people. That's what I think of.
That's not a bad way to put that. I mean, obviously, this is being done by 8-foot tall dudes or 7-foot tall, whatever, in giant bricks of power armor, so it's a tad different. But they're more artful with their warfare, right? The Emperor's Children Legion believed that measuring themselves against their peers, against their others, was the way to know they were on the right path. Like, if their brothers, not as in the Emperor's Children, but like a different legion, got a bunch of accolades, it would be twofold. It would be a wound to their pride, and it would also light a fire under their ass to do better. The Ultramarines end up there with 500 worlds conquered. They're like, God fucking damn it. And then they try to do it even more.
We need to get 1,000 worlds. So they're like this sort of upstart little brother that's always kind of, I don't want to say living in the shadow, but every time Big Brother does something fancy, it's like, oh, stupid.
Papa, why can't I be like Charlemagne in football? Yeah, I mean a little bit, and this is exacerbated even more by the fact that their legion was tiny and dying at the time.
Oh yeah, because no gene seeds, so they're really up against the wall. They
couldn't do nearly as much as everyone else could, and that made it just really difficult to handle.
Being the Emperor's Children and being that small and trying to hold yourself up to the standards of the Ultramarines that are getting just an influx of constant troops from Ultramar's gotta be just a nightmare. Like there's no way you can live up to that.
I mean, Gillen was found decently after Fulgrim, but even then, like the time it took to regain his ranks and really get, yeah, it's like, hey, you're trying to be the greatest basketball player and beat out LeBron James after somebody shot you in the knees.
Yeah, good luck. Like that's a nigh impossible task.
It's really goddamn hard, and it created a ton of jealousy whenever and it made a lot of contempt for other legions, because the Emperor's Children were, the more I think about the idea of the Emperor's Children being taken from young preteen rich kids, the more I start to understand.
Fair. Yep. I mean, they were doomed from the start. Like once that gene seed got messed up by chaos, they were doomed. Like there is,
And then they had to go fuck up the snakes. So
they had to go fuck up the snakes.
So they also had this other weird vision where like the accomplishments and the achievements would like keep rising, and they would keep doing more and more great stuff. Like Shai mentions there's a book about Fulgrim conquering a planet with 7 Marines.
Holy 7?
Yeah, which, like, I guess depending on what you're fighting makes sense, because, Marines are insane, but, and Fulgrim, of course, because Fulgrim.
Well, true. Then I guess they do have a Primarch, so that's going to make things a little easier, but
yeah, 7
well,
Marines. It's the fact that the whole ability to do so is like, that's him trying to show off, right?
Yeah.
Trying to do all the great stuff. But for the Emperor's Children, accomplishments of the past mean nothing. Like, once they do something crazy, it's like they will be rewarded for it and they're happy, but after that, like, all right, it's over. Like, we need new accomplishments now. Like, the future accomplishments will be always more important than the past.
Right, and so they don't rest on their laurels. So that's a good thing.
Well, it also means they can't be proud of themselves, which is not a good thing.
Oh, yeah, I guess that, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, next comes up the Laeran. I always forget how to pronounce that. We'll call it the Laeran. The war with the Laer, the snaky people.
The snaky people, the serpents, yeah.
During this whole war fighting stuff, we are introduced to Fabulous Bile.
Hey.
Now, his real name is Fabius Bile, Fabius, but, Fabulous Billy, the Billster. Basically, the Warhammer's version of Dr. Frankenstein, but not at the time. At the time, he is a chief apothecary, so, highest medical man.
Yeah, so he's like a doctor.
He's literally a doctor. I was going to compare him to Varial, but that might... Actually,
Varial.
That might be okay in this day and age, but way back when, yeah, he's just an apothecary. He's just an apothecary.
Post-heresy, he can be like Varial, but right now, not so much.
Not so much. No, he was actually... Shai's photo of him there is okay. There's some actually better pictures of him that make him actually look pretty regal and, like, surprisingly, like, normal looking.
It's all right there.
As opposed to
that one's not. That is very not normal in that one.
As opposed to that one.
Yeah, is that a flesh coat?
It is, which is very unsterile.
Very. But he might disinfect it every day.
Maybe. But anyway, he discovered that the Laer Xenos species had actually done extensive genetic engineering to make their species, like, perfect. Basically just perfect.
Oh.
They created even a caste system, much like the Tau, designed for specific functions, but the caste system was on a genetic level, like how they tampered with the genetics. And so Fabius kind of believed that they were not so dissimilar in their approach in perfection. He thought, like, okay, what the Emperor has made here, the Astartes, is amazing, but this is simply like the first step. Like, the first step into the longer road of perfection, much like the Thunder Warriors before them.
Oh, okay.
And in order to achieve perfection, they must look upon themselves, look upon their own flesh, much like how they're horrifyingly redone and adjusted when they're created as Astartes. They must look upon themselves again to push that further.
Oh, okay. All right. Also, a genetic caste system sounds kind of awful. Like, imagine, like, I mean, you're just born a peasant because genetics. Why not? And it's like, oh no, I never had a chance. This is just how I was made. This is in my genes, and it's like, oh no.
No, it doesn't. But that's fine because you're perfect. You're perfect for your role, I guess.
True, you're genetically suited for it, so it's not like you're miserable. I guess. Shai asked, isn't it just like bees and ants? I don't know. I mean, I guess
it might be like bees and ants, but
I don't know.
But these are like self-aware beings that aren't like just bees and ants.
Yeah.
These are like these are people.
These are people.
People. Anyway, good old Fabulous Bill is a pretty classic case of road to hell paved with good intentions because. He wanted to enhance the gene seed of the Emperor's children. He didn't know for certain, but he thought he needed to try. He said imperfection would be how they fail the Emperor. And so Fulgrim said, yeah, go ahead, do what you want, basically.
And then it all just went south from there because he was trying to do a good thing. He was trying to fix Tainted Gene Seed, and then it all just falls apart and it just kind of unravels and leads him down a very dark path, I assume.
It starts off with, the good stuff of us create perfection, fix the Tainted Gene Seed, as said, and all that jazz, but then it became, well, what if we try doing this? What if we try doing this? What if we try doing this? And then there was the corruption of the Laer Blade that Fulgrim had that was kind of wreaking its havoc on the populace of the ship. Like, for example, when the Laeran War ended, Bile had more time to experiment. He was given a facility aboard a strike cruiser called the Andronius under the command of Lord Commander Eidolon, which to help, like, maintain Bile's secrecy from the other people. Now, Eidolon was not a big fan of Bile's methods, but he believed in the cause. And he said that he wanted to be first and foremost to be experimented on. He wanted the enhancements that was done to him to make him indispensable to Fulgrim, to make him like the right-hand man, Mr. Eidolon.
Okay.
So Bile, as promised, did his special augmentative surgery to Eidolon, giving him a tracheal implant, which during the surgery, he wanted it to stop. But Bile was like, you asked for this, dude. And Fulgrim was like, you asked for this, dude. So what this was this, mainly because it was this fancy-pantsy Laer tech. And Eidolon was furious that he was putting fucking Xeno shit in his body. But,
That's fair, yeah. I could see how one might be mad. It's like, what do you mean it's a Xeno shit? Yeah, okay.
But he still put it in anyway. And this allowed him to have this, like, nerve-paralyzing shriek he could emit from his mouth. Which one would argue is the first ever, like, proto-noise marine.
Yeah, I guess it would be. And it makes sense that they eventually fall to, Slaanesh, because the silence offends Slaanesh, and this guy's just like, ah, and paralyzes you. And
yeah. This guy is like, ah!
Yeah, ah!
Yeah, excellent, wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he's a bit of a wacky guy, that Eidolon. It's okay though; he doesn't last very long.
Aw.
Yeah, just so you know, he dies.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right. Well, what are you gonna do? You got to break a few eggs and make an omelet. What are you gonna do?
Oh, there's a head being broken. All right.
Oh no.
So, anywho, yeah. Spoiler, I guess.
I guess.
So this is all now post the Laer War. This is all now post the sword. Fulgrim has the sword. Shit's getting f***y. They go ahead and do the Istvan 3 virus bombing. Remember, there's the two Istvans, 3 and 5. 3 is the, hey, guys, all of you who are loyal to the Emperor, go down on this planet to fight this war. And they virus bomb the shit out of them.
Yep.
And then Angron is like, there's still people alive down there, and he runs down there to kill them all.
Gotta kill them all.
The horse is like, God damn it, Angron. So at this point, this is just setting up a little bit of Captain Lucius of the 13th Company. He was actually sent down there with everyone. This is Lucius the Eternal, the guy with the faces and stuff and the pride.
I like him.
So,
he's cool.
He was sent down there, but he survived the virus bombing, killed a traitor guy, and then took his headpiece and was talking to the people above, and basically was like, oh shit, and then turned on the fellow loyalists and murdered a shitload of them, and they decided to accept him back into the ship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so,
he turned coat twice.
Wow, that's a lot of turning. So he somehow survived the virus bombing.
Yeah, a few people did.
And then he was killing traitors, picked up one of their helmets and was like, oh shit, they traitors. I guess I better too. And he just kind of decides to turn traitor because it was the only way to survive, I guess?
No, he was fiercely jealous of a fellow captain taking up all the defenses for the loyalists instead of himself, so he killed him and his retinue.
Oh, wow, that is... So he just got jealous and oh, okay.
Little
That's
bit.
unfortunate. That's very 40K. That's very Emperor's Children, to get jealous of someone else's deeds and accomplishments. So, yeah, that unfortunately tracks.
There is more to this overall, but yes, that is kind of the Lucius thing. Lucius is kind of a fucker, if I'm not mistaken. He's a real bastard. I don't remember him being a particularly nice guy, even pre-heresy.
Yeah, just from this little excerpt or this little story, he seems like a bit of a prick.
Bit of a prick.
He seems
Papa,
like a bit of a prick. But
why does that man get to lead the defenses instead of me? You want to read the Shy's little excerpt there?
Sure. He displayed perhaps sadistic tendencies early on, killing individuals he claimed were beggars and brigands that had attacked him first. He proved to be a poor teacher, often scarring his pupils or cutting off an eye or finger in an accident. Oh, he's not
rich,
a nice guy.
super ridiculously wealthy kids taken to become demigods.
Oh, yep, that is. Does he look all? Is that because he survived the virus bombing that he looks that way, and he looks all like his skin's all like charred and leathery looking and stuff? Is it because the virus bombing, or is that just like a chaos thing?
It might be him fucking with his own head because of Slaanesh chaos things.
Okay.
Because that both answers are possible. I don't know at what point in time that picture was made.
Yeah, I just figured the side effects of, surviving a virus bombing would make your skin look a little funky.
A little funky.
Yeah.
Okay. DK.
Yes, sir.
It's time.
It's time.
When I was researching this episode, there was one thing that I knew I needed to get right the most. There was one thing that I knew I needed to do proper.
Okay.
In the book, Fulgrim, there is something known as the Maraviglia, or Moraviglia.
Oh, alrighty. I didn't realize we were doing word bear stuff, with the Italiano sounding stuff.
Hey, the Maraviglia. Hey.
Hey.
Shy, I will do my best not to get demonetized, but let's be real. If I'm going to do this justice, it'll be a bit rough.
Oh, no. I already don't like where this is going.
So, this is in the book Fulgrim, written by our good friend Graham McNeil.
Hey.
Graham McNeil, if I'm not mistaken, was the one who made the Ultramarine Demon Killbossa series.
Oh boy.
This is already going down a
steep hill.
He is also the one who then left to go help write Arcane with Riot Games.
Well, I mean, hey, there's so this could still pan out to be good. It sounds like it's going to be another Demon Killbossa, but open-minded. I'm open-minded. Let's hear it.
No, this is better than the Demon Killbossa in the sense that it's still pretty fucked, but it's like it's tastefully. So, on the beautiful ship, Pride of the Emperor, Fulgrim's flagship, there is a stage, and this stage is La Fenice, or Le Fenice. I forget if it's Le or La, Fenice. La Fenice.
La Fenice.
And this is a ornate, gorgeous, enormous concert hall. A gigantic, whatever you'd call that kind of thing. A concert hall, basically. Yeah.
Auditorium, sure.
Auditorium, thank you. Auditorium would be one way to put it. And this place is just fucking gorgeous. Like, it is the most beautiful concert hall probably in the solar system. Probably in the entire humanity side of the galaxy. It is mosaic floors and with concentric arts. There are 6 mighty columns of solid marble in a dress circle, with the balcony decorated with plaster applique? Whatever.
Sure.
There were brass cages hung with Xenos songbirds, brightly colored songbirds, adding their music to the orchestra. There is a scent of musk coming from incense burners to the entire area, making it as humid as it could possibly be. There were colored lights and prisms and rainbows of millions of hues and giant stage curtains illuminating with this red velvet and decadence across the entire place, with the ceiling carved of a combination of serpents and naked humans alike.
Wow.
That's
is one immaculate ass auditorium.
It is the most extra fucking thing I have ever seen or heard written about.
And these guys fall to Slaanesh? No.
This auditorium starred someone known as Bekwa Kinska. Bekwa Kinska is immortal. She is a regular human. She is a fancy musician and composer who was attached to the 28th Expedition Fleet as a remembrancer. If you remember that from the first Heretic book, I think, of the the people who the historians of this day.
Yeah, they remember stuff.
She
was remembrancers.
She was a patron of the arts and had many fans. One of the features of her to note is she had long blue hair. She was incredibly attractive for her quote-unquote advanced age. I'm going to assume she was quite old, but had lots of rejuvenant theory.
Nice, she's an anime girl. Nice.
Yeah, but she's like an anime MILF girl a little bit. Like a little bit old.
Oh, man, now, see?
Now we're talking, right?
I was on board before, but now you had my attention, but now, what's the damn quote from?
You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
There you go. That's what I was going for, and I screwed that up. But whatever. Continue.
Post funny image of Leonardo DiCaprio laughing. Anyway, she was someone who liked seducing the young and the old. She was a beautiful, high-class artist, and she was one of many remembrancers allowed to visit the Lair Temple down, deep down, dedicated to Slaanesh.
Okay.
And of course, the slow grasp of this Slaaneshi temple took hold of her.
Of course.
And there was a beautiful music played from said temple. And she was inspired to create the grandest of symphonies she called the Maraviglia.
Okay.
And this was the unveiling of said symphony. She was on stage herself with this, the blue hair all done up. She's like performing. This auditorium is filled with thousands upon thousands of regular people aboard the ship, including most of the Emperor's Children Legion. It's not most of, but like on the ship. Emperor's Children Legion, not in their armor, but instead in their training robes, all present to watch this play.
Oh boy.
She
I don't like where this is going.
She had this extremely scandalous dress of gold and crimson red with this thin material of stones glittering on her hair and her ears. Her shirt was I'm pretty sure basically see-through.
Of course it was, sure.
The whole thing, it's very artsy. And way up in the top was something they called the Phoenician's Nest, which of course was the box seat for Fulgrim himself.
Of course.
Along with two of his favorite captains, a man named Julius and Marius, Julius and Marius.
Okay.
Of course, when the curtain parted and she walked out, Fulgrim stood up and was like, magnificent, and was just clapping furiously with fucking tears in his eyes.
Hadn't even done anything yet, and he's brought to tears by her beauty. By
her fucking
perfection.
Extremely perfection, gorgeous body and everything, whatever, the whole deal. Even his captain was like, damn, she hot. Which is impressive because Space Marines don't have sex.
Oh, that's
Anyway,
true. Yeah.
on the stage were these enormous instruments that each of the all the people were tuning their instruments and stuff. They were string instruments and guitars and things like that with speakers coming out of them and amplifiers up and across the entire stage. Just ludicrous instruments. And as the noise erupted from this orchestra from Maraviglia, it was deafeningly loud. Like,
Yeah, I mean, if it's a tune that was inspired by basically Slaanesh, I imagine it was just the most chaotically loud thing ever.
and as Kinska, the Remembrancer, was conducting it herself there with her little baton and all that kind of stuff, it was the first notes of the Maraviglia were played out for everybody. It started with this weird like journey of the senses, like romantic beauty, hints of other themes, the senses of emotion rise and fell. And the captain of the Emperor's children wanted to laugh, and then he wanted to cry, and then he was fucking furious. And then it was bled away within moments, each and every single note and tone. And the Remembrancer, Bekwa Kinska, thrashed like a fucking lunatic on the podium, just jabbing and slashing, and her hair whipping around her head like this comet of blue. And the captain took his eyes off the stage to look into the crowd. And upon the crowd were faces in just stunned disbelief, completely agape and aghast. Except for this one douchebag guy named Evander Tobias, who was like, him and some group had their ears clapped over their or hands clapped over their ears as the music swelled, and so they decided to leave because they were just like these annoying ass people, basically.
Leaving in the middle of a movie, what a jerk.
In the middle of the movie, they started leaving, and then scuffles began to break out as him and his fellows were attacked by the audience. And fists started pummeling them to the ground when they were kicked and beaten by various people. And then a heavy, large boot crunched down on his skull. And curb stomped him into a paste. And then the entire audience turned right back to the musician.
Wow, that is oof, boy. Wow.
So
don't get up in the middle of a movie in 40K,
don't get
guys.
up.
Don't get up. Sit your ass down until it's done.
Eventually, when the music reached its climax, the windows or the curtains opened up for a nearly 1-to-1 recreation of the center of the Lair Temple in painstaking detail. And as lights and tones and sound flashed up and down and left and right, the audience was immediately hit by this level of like dizzying colors and dizzying mental state. A main singer, Coraline Asenica, the main prima donna, began singing and reaching this harmony of ludicrous proportions. Like, we're at the full top level climax. Like, you think the climax is happening, but the climax keeps on going and keeps on going. He took his eyes off of the stage for a second, wanting to basically cry, and he looked down into the audience, and he saw Eidolon and Marius, one of the other captains, and Eidolon, the man with the throat thing. And they were entertained in the idea of joining her in song, as their eyes had this wide panic and their mouths stretched wide in this silent scream in an attempt to mimic what she was doing. And then in their panicked eyes, their mouths stretched wider and wider, and the bones cracked in their face, and their mouths distended like a snake.
Oh boy, that doesn't sound good.
And as he looked around, all of the other patrons began this like carnal fucking orgy.
Okay. All right.
basically, yeah. This. Hell yeah, Shy, you got the best part.
Yeah,
Click.
Shy said
We're
TLDR.
leaving.
We're leaving. We must. That is one of the better parts in Event Horizon, sure.
He looked to Fulgrim, and Fulgrim's eyes were a reeling depth of the darkest age of a galaxy. And Fulgrim was weeping with his voice barely above a whisper, and he says, "It's beautiful," as it shot Julius down to his fucking knees on the edge of the box. All the people down below started beginning this primal sense of their deep-seated desires. Tons of the mortals just started having excessive amounts of sex with each other, and then the Space Marines just started pummeling and ripping people apart. It went from boning to murder, and then back to boning again, over and over. The Marines would rip apart. They would rip apart the bones of the mortals and scar their own skin with them. They would rip the skin off the people and then hang it like a flayed one on their bodies, like a fucking shawl.
All right.
It was
this is sounding more Night Lord than Emperor's Children now, but okay. Holy jeez.
It was just like there was rivers of blood and people fucking in the blood. It was the weirdest, most ridiculous thing ever.
So it's like that episode of South Park. Blood orgy! Blood orgy!
Blood orgy!
Right? Blood orgy!
God damn it.
That's an old one.
The on the stage was that beautiful picture, that painting of Fulgrim that was beginning to move and writhe and adjust in the canvas itself.
Oh.
And fires blazing in its eyes and a shriek. And the light began to like this rainbow color of light, like a liquid mixing with the blood. And eventually the main singer reached this crescendo of her voice in which she would begin to float above the sky, or into the sky, and her bones would crack and twist in a manner that's not supposed to happen.
Ooh, all right.
Every single bone in her body turned to powder. And as she landed down on the ground, she had a lilac skin color, only one boob, and snapping claws for fingers.
Oh, well, that's... Oh.
It's,
boy.
She became a demonette, basically.
Oh, boy. I don't know what a demonette looks like, but that does not sound like a pleasant experience.
You never seen a demonette before?
Oh!
It's
that's
the
demonette.
lesser demon of Slaanesh, yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Basically, she was basically possessed by a demonette. It basically turned into a Slaanesh summoning ritual at that point.
Hooray.
Hooray! And then the rest of the singing group all turned into demonettes. And they went up to Bikwa Akinska, the composer, and shoved the claw dead through her fucking chest from her back. And lifted her aloft as she had this giant shit-eating grin on her face behind her blue hair.
Yeah, that sure does sound about right. Jesus.
And then all the demonettes were jumped off the stage and began shredding their way through the crowd.
Oh boy. Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate for everybody in the building.
Oh, it gets so much worse.
Oh, how?
The Space Marines were very angry that the music had stopped, and they were trying their best to maintain it the best they could. So they jumped onto the stage and grabbed the makeshift musical instruments and tried to strum them. And as they did so, the music was so powerful it would destroy some of the booths and boxes in the audience. And once they realized that, the Emperor's children turned it on the audience themselves, and the sound of the instruments would blow the skin and body off and turn bones into powder and shred them into dust.
Wow. Yeah,
and
that's worse. Yep.
These were the first ever Noise Marines. And the creation of the Noise Marines' weapons, those rock guitars you see, That's where they came from.
Oh boy, that is quite the origin story for the Noise Marines. Oh boy, that's a spicy meatball.
It ended with Fulgrim saying, "My Emperor's children, what sweet music they make," as explosions of flesh and stone bloomed throughout Lefenis, as Marius and the rest of the Astartes filled it with the music of the apocalypse.
Wow.
That is the Maraviglia.
Ooh boy, that is high. Although the idea of this just amazing chorus ending and the music stopping and like, oh my god, we have to keep it going. Bunch of amateurs just jump on the stage and just start plucking instruments and
then they start aiming it purposely at the crowd.
Yeah, that's, oh boy, and just
that is what the Emperor's children use as their main weapons now. Their mouths are distended to screech through their vocal boxes, much like Eidolon. And they carry around things called like Blastmasters and Doom Sirens and various other weapons that are instruments that were originally created and crafted by this remembrancer, Bekwa Kinska.
Damn.
Can you believe it? A fucking... So I got, as crazy as it is, a blue-haired e-girl was able to basically bring the final downfall of an entire Space Marine Legion. And you know what? I say based.
Based. Capital B, based. So that's why
What's the
they look
first
all
letter
like...
of Bekwa? It's B.
B for based. So that's why the Emperor's children look that way and they look all mutated and stuff, is because of listening to the song and like having their mouths distended trying to replicate what the singer was doing.
It's kind of the origin of it. A lot of it goes to Bile and his experiments as well.
Oh, sure.
But if you like see that image that Shai posted, his mouth is a giant speaker grill that's far too large.
Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, that kind of stuff.
That must have been horrible.
It all kind of began with this play.
Oof.
Every legion has its like turning point. Death Guard had Typhus sacrificing the Death Guards and having them all mutate and horrible things happen. The Thousand Sons had like the burning of Prospero. I don't actually know what the World Eaters one was. Well, can you think of a specific event that made the World Eaters the way they were, Shai? I guess the World Eaters' turning point could be when Karn betrayed them and murdered a shitload of them. That's
sure.
Go Karn, let's go!
Yeah!
Anyway, this to me, I mean, Slaanesh was also very gradual, but this was like, to me, like the final turning point. This was the big... There is no going back now. The demonic summoning ritual play that they had. Anyway, that was really the big event that I wanted to give the most attention to, because everything after that was just insane Emperor's Children shit. They began the drop site massacre, fired all of their insane weaponry upon their friends. And then the Horus Heresy, Siege of Terra came. They didn't even help. They just went around and
killing civilians,
did horrible things to the civilians, and took them and turned them into soup and then injected them into their bodies. And there is a common thing that Noise Marines like to do, where when they kill a human with one of their sonic weapons and they turn into a fucking powder on the spot, they walk up to them and inhale the fucking ash so that they could really experience their essence, truly absorb the essence of the ones they've murdered.
For a second, as soon as you're like, oh yeah, once they turn him into a powder, I'm like, yeah, they do a line of human, right? And they kind of do.
They actually like, oh, let's do it. What do you think? What do you think like an Emperor's Children credit card looks like? Would they make the line in the fucking club? They do a
Obviously,
line of human. Yeah, they're right.
Yeah,
Crack
they
cocaine
do a
is for
line of
pussies. Let's do men. Let's do men.
Oh my god, this is great human.
That Imperial Guard hits so much harder when you vaporize the power pack of his las gun.
Oh man.
God damn it! You go to a new war zone, right? And then you got these Imperial Guardsmen, and then this one Emperor's children. He comes out and he's like, "You're gonna have a bad time," and he cranks on Megalovania to the highest possible fucking degree, strums
so
his
much
guitar, and fucking pastes some goddamn guardsmen into nothing when you're hearing.
Imagine that's the last thing you hear. Imagine being that poor soul that's like the last thing you hear is one tune of Megalovania, and the next thing you know, you're getting snorted by a space marine.
You literally you turn around and you're like, what is that? And then you just fucking, that's the last thing you remember. You don't hear
all you hear is doot. That's all you heard is doot.
No, you hear the sound. Him tuning the instrument is like Sans talking, like the
It's the tuning of it. Oh no, I know those dudes.
And
Run!
then you just turn to a fucking powder, and then Sans walks up to you, and then his other Emperor's Children noise marine with him, named Papyrus, is like, oh,
that's the good shit. That's the good shit.
Let's go back and do another line of human. Mm-hmm. Oh, Shy is a thing. You want to read it?
Sure. Funny story about Eidolon. He really underestimated how crazy Fulgrim was and mocked him for shitty planning. So Fulgrim cut his head off, I'm assuming, and had a nice dinner with Eidolon's severed head on the table spewing blood? Holy sh... But then he was like, wait a minute, Eidolon was kind of cool. I changed my mind. Hey, Bile, fix him. So Bile went, I guess, and attached his head back, and Eidolon now is a weird, shambling zombie lunatic. Is that really?
That sounds extremely accurate, and that is so on base for Bile.
I just found that so. I mean. How dare you mock me, and Schlink has a conversation with his severed head and is like, you know what? I was a little hasty. Put him back together.
It wasn't just a conversation with him. He took the severed head and used the blood dripping from it to mix with all of the wine they had on the table, and then they all drank it.
Of course he did. Of course they drank his blood with the wine. Sure, why not?
And then the door opened, and then they heard do.
Nice.
So I don't think I can top this final statement. I don't think I can top the Sans noise marine. I don't know.
No.
I mean, everything past this is pretty standard. They leave after the siege doesn't work and Perturabo fucks off. They go and have a demon world called Harmony. And if you remember, we talked about this before. Bio tried to create a clone of Horus, and then the Black Legion arrive, and then Abaddon kills him in like a 1v1 and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, and now they kind of are all going off and doing their own thing. Fabulous Bill has a whole trilogy about him and a faction. Lucius the Eternal is a insane like demon captain champion of Slaanesh now, and Eidolon is a zombie, and Fulgrim is out and about doing snake stuff. He stabbed Gilliman, and really that's where we're at. You know, this episode is going great, and then once Sans Undertale got brought up, it all went downhill. Now. Just like most Traitor Legions, it's going to end with a whimper, because the ending of it is just, yeah, they're around somewhere, I guess. See us next time for Rylanor episode, the Chad of Rights. Shy, end with Megalovania, please. Please?